When it comes to choosing a powerful Mac desktop, you've got two main options right now. The Mac Studio with the M3 Ultra chip and the Mac Mini with the M4 Pro chip. On paper, the Mac Studio absolutely crushes the Mac Mini in terms of specs and raw performance. But should you actually spend almost double the money for it? That's where things get a lot more interesting. In this in-depth comparison brought to you by Technology Review, we'll break down the real-world performance, design, cooling, port selection, GPU advantages, and AI capabilities of these two Apple silicon powerhouses, and ultimately help you decide which one is actually worth buying in 2025. Let's dive in. Laptop computer, meet the machines. M4 Pro Mac Mini versus M3 Ultra Mac Studio. Let's get the basics out of the way. Mac Mini M4 Pro. 14-core CPU, 20-core GPU, 48 gigabytes unified memory, 1 terabyte SSD, $2,199. Mac Studio M3 Ultra, 28-core CPU, 60-core GPU, 96 gigabytes unified memory, 1 terabyte SSD, for $1,000. At face value, the Mac Studio looks like a total beast. More cores, more memory, more GPU, and a more advanced cooling system. But here's the twist. For many people, you may never notice that power. The Mac Mini with the M4 Pro handles most everyday tasks, and even demanding ones, without breaking a sweat. So why does the Studio even exist? What makes it worth the extra $1,800? Magnifying glass tilted left design and size. The Mini is really mini. If you care about space, portability, or a clean desk aesthetic, the Mac Mini wins hands down. Mac Mini, 2 inches tall, 5-inch by 5-inch footprint. Mac Studio, 3.7 inches tall, 7.7-inch by 7.7-inch footprint. That size difference might not sound massive, but it changes how you can use the device. You can toss the Mini into a backpack, mount it under a desk, or hide it behind your monitor. It's not quite laptop-level portability, but it's way more flexible than the Studio. Still, with a larger body, the Studio has better airflow, better cooling, and more ports. Speaking of which, gear, ports, and connectivity. Studio Flex is here. Port selection is a major selling point for the Mac Studio. Mac Mini M4 Pro, 3x Thunderbolt 5, 1x HDMI, 2x USB-C front, 1x Gigabit Ethernet. Headphone jack. Mac Studio M3 Ultra, for X Thunderbolt 5 rear, 2x Thunderbolt 5 front, 2x USB-A, 1x10G Ethernet. HDMI, SD card reader, headphone jack. If you're dealing with high-speed SSDs, external GPUs, or professional audio-video gear, the extra Thunderbolt 5 ports and SD card reader are game changers. Also, Thunderbolt 5 doubles the speed of TB4, which helps with things like daisy-chaining multiple displays, transferring raw 8K footage, or streaming directly off an external NVMe SSD without a hitch. Winner? Mac Studio, no question. Wind face, noise, and thermals. Mini is louder than you'd think. Here's where real-world usage paints a different picture than raw specs. The Mac Studio is much quieter. Even under load, its fans stay whisper silent, partly thanks to its large dual-fan design. The Mac Mini, despite being newer and smaller, can get loud, especially under heavy CPU or GPU tasks. You'll notice this while gaming, compiling code, or running multiple apps with high memory usage. So, if you're sensitive to fan noise or plan on working in a very quiet environment, like a home studio, the Mac Studio has the edge. Rocket performance. Where does the Ultra shine? Let's address the elephant in the room. Is the M3 Ultra overkill? For web browsing, office tasks, light editing, or even casual 4K video editing, yes, it's overkill. But if you do, professional video editing with heavy render times, 3D modeling in Blender or Cinema 4D, Run large AI models locally. Edit in 8K ProRes. Use multicam footage in Final Cut Pro. Then that extra power really pays off. Here's how. Rendering speed. Up to 5x faster on the Studio. AI workflows. Run massive models thanks to 96 gigabytes RAM and 32 core neural engine. Gaming. Plus 15 to 20 FPS advantage over the Mini, especially in GPU-heavy titles. Memory bandwidth. 819 gigabytes per second Studio versus 273 gigabytes per second Mini. So yes, if your workload includes anything that's compute-heavy, the Mac Studio M3 Ultra will save you hours every week. Brain Neural Engine and AI. Studio is a mini supercomputer. The Mac Studio's 32-core neural engine makes it incredibly powerful for machine learning, AI, and neural processing tasks. It can run local models that would normally require 3 RTX 4090 GPUs. Want to run a 70B parameter LLM on your machine? The Studio can handle it with less power consumption than most PCs and at a fraction of the noise. Compare that to the Mini, which taps out at 64 gigabytes RAM and a 16-core neural engine. More than capable, but not even close for next-gen AI use cases. If you're an AI developer or tinkering with local models like Llama, Mistral, or fine-tuned GPT derivatives, the Studio is in a league of its own. Video game gaming on Mac? Surprisingly decent on Studio. Yes, you can game on a Mac now, thanks to Metal 3 and Apple's aggressive GPU improvements. We tested games like Rust, The Long Dark, No Man's Sky, Baldur's Gate 3, Civilization 7. On the Studio, frame rates were consistently 15 to 20 FPS higher than on the Mini. Scenes loaded faster. Graphics look sharper and thermal throttling? Non-existent. However, let's be real. If you're buying a Mac for gaming as your primary use case, you're doing it wrong. Windows with a high-end GPU is still king. Moneybag, is the Mac Studio worth the price? Here's where it gets tricky. At $4,000, the M3 Ultra Mac Studio is a serious investment. But in many workflows, it can easily pay for itself over time through productivity gains. Rendering 4 times faster means you can spend more time editing, producing, and creating, and less time waiting. That said, for most users, including creative professionals, the M4 Pro Mac Mini is already insanely powerful. You'll only feel the Ultra's benefits if your work involves huge renders, large AI models, heavy multitasking, 3D design, advanced motion graphics, extreme plugin usage. If you don't fall into that camp, you might be better off skipping the M3 Ultra and saving your cash. Backhand index pointing right if you want maximum performance, future-proofing, and silence. Go with the Mac Studio M3 Ultra. Backhand index pointing right if you're looking for excellent performance at a more reasonable price. The M4 Pro Mac Mini is still a killer machine. Honestly, the M4 Mac Studio might be the true sweet spot in the lineup, delivering great performance with better thermals and more ports without costing double. But whatever you choose, you're getting Apple's silicon performance that would have cost $10,000 plus just a few years ago. And that's pretty amazing.